Hello everyone, welcome to Narayan IAS, and as a part of Daily News Analysis, we bring the 5 most important articles to you from The Hindu and Indian Express. And in continuation of the same series, today's 5 articles are: number 1, use of AI in drug development, where we will discuss how artificial intelligence can revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry in India. Second, we will talk about, can political party be de-recognized or deregistered, where we will make the difference in between the two and the power of Election Commission of India in regard to the two kinds of political party. Third, we will move on to ongoing tariff war in between the US and China and how it is going to impact India. Fourth, we will discuss the Election Commission of India's vote on the vote from home facility. So what is vote from home? We will discuss in this article. Fifth, we will move on to violence in the new Caledonia states. We will discuss this article from the mapping perspective and the reason for the ongoing violence. And lastly, we will discuss the prelims and mains question based on these articles. So now, let's begin. So let's start with the first article, that is use of AI in drug development. Now, artificial intelligence is important from GS paper 2 perspective, where achievement in science and technology, especially in India, is actually part of UPSC syllabus. And even previously, questions like that has been asked in UPSC. Like in 2021, UPSC asked the question that what are the main socio-economic implications arising out of the development of IT industry in major cities of India. So this question is relevant to IT and how it is impacting Indian society. Same question can be asked regarding the specific technology as well, like nanotechnology, like biotechnology. And biotechnology, UPSC has asked question. Now next is artificial intelligence, because definitely it is transforming the way we perceive the society and the way we can do things in our present economy. Okay. Now, why are we talking about artificial intelligence? Because recently the article came, it talked about how the drug development can be expedited with the use of technology that is being brought by artificial intelligence. Now, you should learn, know over there that drug development is a very expensive and time-consuming process. So, the cost as well as time are very important concern for us. And because of the amount of cost and time it takes for a pharmaceutical industry to develop a one drug, they increase the price as well. You know, certain TB prices or certain cancer pharmaceutical drugs are as costly as 21,000 for a tablet. And the reason is, it's not the kind of product that has been used in making the tablet. It is the time and cost that was involved. And they are taking the time and cost from you by making it very expensive. So if you reduce the time and cost, if you actually make the process of drug making less expensive, it is going to actually make health very sustainable and very affordable to large number of people. And that's why AI can revolutionize the health industry. Now, but before we move on we need to understand what is AI and which component of AI can be very helpful over there. Now, AI or artificial intelligence is basically a technology that enables the computer and machines to simulate the human intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. Now, you know, on Earth, of whatever organism that are existing, we have claimed ourselves, or human beings have claimed themselves with the most intelligent species. Reason being, whatever problem we face, we can actually identify the patterns and then we can come up with solution. That is our strategy. We see our environment, we see it in terms of data, huge amount of information, and then we classify that information. Okay, and once we are able to classify, we are able to see the pattern. This helps us in terms of coming up with solution to any problem we face or any innovation that we can come up with. Right now, that is how we develop solar energy using the sunlight. That is how we were able to utilize even the fire when we know if we crush the two stones together, we can generate fire, and fire can help in so many ways. So how did we do that? We saw that in terms of pattern. And that's human beings are considered as a very intelligent species. Now, artificial intelligence or AI is also able to simulate the same intelligence that human beings are having. By how? By working on huge amount of data and then classifying the pattern. Now, once you understand the artificial intelligence, let's understand about the subset of artificial intelligence as well. Now, AI means what? AI is simulation of human intelligence. Okay, now let's come to the subset of AI, that is machine learning. Now, machine learning also simulates the aspect of human intelligence, but what it does, it uses huge amount of data and algorithm. It will use what? Huge amount of data and algorithm to actually come up with a pattern as well as accurately solve the problem it is using. So that's what you should remember, in a way that it is also simulating human intelligence or imitating it. But how? It is using the data by actually coming up with pattern and classification and thus solve any problem. So what it is able to do is it is able to self-learn. It is able to learn on its own. And this capability is more refined by a subset of ML, that is deep learning, DL. DL does the same thing. It also acts on a huge amount of data. It uses the data and then it see the pattern, it come up with the classification, and after classification, it is able to find the relationship, it is able to evaluate possibility and make predictions for the futures based on pattern. Now, why are we talking about climate change? Because we are seeing rising number of patterns where due to the rise in sea surface temperature, there can be flooding. What do we see? We see patterns. Same, artificial intelligence is also able to analyze the huge amount of data, come up with pattern, come up with classification, come up with some kind of relationship, and thus can predict our future as well. So that's what artificial intelligence is moving from AI to ML, then to DL, and we are able to enhance our capability. Now, the specific thing about DL is it uses a deep neural network or large amount of network to train itself. Now, what is deep neural network is, like a human brain has huge amount of neurons by which information is processed and passed. And because of this huge amount of information, like one neuron can maybe process one information at a time, but billions of neurons can process billions of information at a time. Similarly, the more the number of neurons an artificial intelligence have, the greater is its speed and accuracy. So and then it doesn't have neurons like the human being have. There's artificial neurons. So deep neural network is nothing. It is a simulation of human brain where there's artificial neuron which are in billions, and those billions of neurons are able to multiply the processing capability, the information processing capability, which gives it speed, which gives it accuracy, both. Now, once you've understood this, you will realize how AI can help in drug development as well. Okay, but before that, let's understand the process of drug development. How does a drug work? Now, human body is made up of protein. And even our catalyst, our enzymes, most of the enzymes are basically protein. And most of the structure is made up of protein. And even if we are having a headache, we are having pain somewhere, it is some protein that is actually either malfunctioning or it's not giving up the proper function. So what drug does is, if this protein is not functioning properly, a drug will go nudge the protein to perform in a certain function. But this protein, you should remember, proteins are very specific in nature. Now, what do I mean by specific in nature? Specific in nature, that means they operate at particular temperature, they operate at particular pressure. At same point of a time, they are activated only by some catalyst or a particular foreign object that can actually fit into its structure, its substrate. Iska matlab, if this is the protein, this means if this is the protein, some other structure is coming over there. It is shaped like this. This can't fit into this. This cannot activate a protein. So this protein, which is shaped like this, can only be activated by a substance that is acting like this. It can easily fit into the substrate of the protein, and this protein will be activated and your work will be done. This means for any drug to activate a protein and get things done, a drug has to fit into the structure of a protein. And for that, earlier, before AI was there, what we had trial and error method. We will try to understand, number one, we will try to understand the structure of protein. And then based on that structure, we will keep on fitting different kinds of drug. Maybe drug 1, then drug 2, then drug 3. Then we will see which drug has maximum efficacy. Then we will realize, okay, this drug is fitting into the protein very accurately. The problem with this process was, number one, it required a lot of chemical reagent. Human testing was difficult. You can't do that many number of human trial. Animal trial already had ethical issues. It was expensive as well. Now, that's where artificial intelligence can help you. It can help in identifying and validating a target molecule, the target molecule that you're looking for towards. Because this protein is what? This protein is a target molecule that you're trying to activate. What artificial intelligence does is it's actually come up with computational model and simulate the structure of protein. Now same, a computer will simulate the structure of protein and then it will analyze multiple kinds of drugs that you are feeding it. And then it will come to the conclusion that, okay, this drug is most suitable because it can fit into this. This can activate this particular kind of protein. So this kind of computational model, your simulation model can actually reduce your time, your cost, it can also reduce the possibility or the requirement of human trial as much as possible. So in this way, it is becoming very efficient. And thus, the benefit of AI here involved, it's actually revolutionizing the drug discovery and understanding the drug target interaction. Because by means of simulation, by means of feeding the huge amount of data, you're feeding it lot of number of drugs that you have right now. So you have a protein structure with you, and then you have a data on so many kinds of drug that you're feeding. So simply by interaction or like by simulation, you're able to understand which drug can work. So drug discovery become easy. The drug target interaction understanding also becomes easy. So it does what? It reduces time. It increases the accuracy of production between the drug and the target. It cuts the cost as well. And thus AI in the AI's overall can revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry in India. Am I not right about this? It's possible, right? You're just cutting down so much elements, so many processes you can cut down, especially in the discovery phase. Okay, remember, a drug pharmaceutical development or a drug development has 3 phases. Number 1 is a discovery phase, when you identify which drug is accurate for this. And then there is a clinical phase where you do the trial. And then there is a clinical phase. So these 2 phases. Now here AI is acting on the discovery phase. It is expediting the discovery phase for the drug development. Now let's move on. This is the diagrammatical representation of how your molecule, such as protein molecule, is acting with the help of a drug. So this is a drug molecule which is able to fit into the protein structure and thus able to activate it in order to get the function done that you are asking it to. Okay. So what are the existing models that we have? The article talk about 2 existing models, that is AlphaFold and Rosetta Fold, which are developed by the DeepMind. DeepMind belongs to the Google. It is a deep neural network of the Google company, and University of Michigan, US, respectively. That means the AlphaFold belongs to the Google company DeepMind, and the RetaFold belongs to the University of Washington, US. And it is a major scientific breakthrough in the computational drug development. Okay, so both the technology are based on deep neural network. No, don't be confused about that. I talked about you know what is the deep neural network. It is nothing. It is simulation or imitating of the way our human brain works, because a single neuron is capable of processing lot amount of data. Billions of neurons can process huge amount of data, and thus we are actually increasing the speed and accuracy over here. Memorize it with the repetition. Moving on to the next aspect, that is the limitations of AI. Okay, we're talking about AI has huge potential, but then it comes with its own set of limitations as well. The first limitation is the accuracy in predicting interaction, which is only 80% right now. We want being a technology, we're expecting at least 90% accuracy, 95% accuracy by which the drug are introduced in society. So the accuracy is only 80%. So that is the first concern. Second is it assists only in the single phase of drug development. Remember, I told you a drug development has 3 phases, that is discovery phase, and then there is a preclinical phase, and then there is a clinical phase, and then I told you that AI help only in this phase, that is discovery phase. It doesn't help in preclinical or clinical phase. Next is the diffusion. This architecture actually can suffer from model hallucination. It's just a word we are saying because of insufficient training data. Now, what I'm saying is a deep neural network technology is dependent upon the quality and the quantity of data that you give. Right now, If you give the good quality data, if you give the good quantity data, the result will be accurate. But what if the kind of data you are feeding is not accurate? Can the result also be accurate? If the protein structure you're feeding is not good, if the structure of drug is not actually accurate, the data will be wrong. So you are coming at 80% accuracy at the first stage, but then you have only 5%, 10% accuracy at the clinical phase. So that just that can have a huge issues. Next is the code for the latest model like Alpha 3. We are saying in terms of alpha fold, we also have different variation 1, 2, and 3, and the third one is the most developed one. It is more accurate. It reduces the time and cost to a greater length, but then its code is still not available. So we cannot, we don't have a greater picture or clear picture of how much impactful it is. So this which limit its use as well as verification. The claim is something which is on bigger time, but we don't have verifying data on this. Now let's move on to India's position, where India stands on the entire scenario. Now we know that artificial intelligence has a huge transforming potential in the pharmaceutical industry, but at the same point of time, India faces certain challenges and lack of certain capabilities, which include number one, lack of large-scale computing infrastructure. Because as I said, AI or deep neural network works on the computational technology which you need to have. Here the example is graphic processing unit, which can run multiple tasks at same time, which can run longer sequences as well. We don't have that. We don't even have that much of not even technology, forget technology, not even money as well. Not saying entire as a society, but the pharmaceutical companies that are working in this may not have that much of amount to invest in such kind of technology. So the second is the technology are expensive and there is a limited budget in India. Here the example is GPU chips only. I talked about how GPU chips have greater computational technology, but at the same point of time, they're expensive ones, and that's which limits India's capability to use AI in pharmaceutical industry. And lastly, there is lack of skilled AI scientists as well, unlike US and China, where there is a lot of skilled scientists are available. Especially India is also facing the brain drain, that whosoever is doing PhD as masters in biochemical industry or biochemistry, they're actually moving away from India to these nations. So we are losing our skilled technicians as well. So that is another problem. So overall, what can we say that India is not able to take benefit or not establish its first mover advantage. Why am I talking about first mover advantage? That means if someone entered the industry for the first time, it always had the benefit. Like in YouTube, those who started their YouTube channel in the beginning when the YouTube was there, they have some first mover advantage because they were the first one to make content on some subject, be that educational content or be that entertainment content. So that's called it first mover advantage. But also India also have such advantage because we are our structural biology field is well developed in terms of protein X-ray crystallography or modeling technology as well developed. But yet we are not able to take that benefit because of the expensive technology, because of the lack of computational models, and because of lack of skilled scientists as well. But overall, picture is not that gloomy. Reason being, we have done tremendous amount of or good work in pharmaceutical industry, and mostly the medicine that are developed by India are very cost effective. We come up with cost effective technologies as well, and thus India has a growing pharmaceutical industry which can use AI tool to target discovery and drug testing. Overall, AI offers a transformative potential in drug development. So though the challenges are there, but if enough hand holding or subsidy is given by the government for the introduction of AI in the drug development technology, then AI has the potential to make healthcare very affordable in India. So with this, we're done with the first article. Let's move on to the next one. Let's start with next article, that is, can a party be de-recognized or deregistered in India? This is important because this mechanism is part of the Election Commission of India, which is a constitutional body, and thus it is a part of UPSC syllabus. And even question on this part has been asked in UPSC, like Representation of People Act or election in India. You can see the previous year question where it is being stated that according to Constitution of India, a person who is eligible to vote can be made a minister in state for a 6 month even if he or she is not a member of legislature of the state. Second statement says that according to Representation of People Act 1951, a person convicted of a criminal offence and sentenced to imprisonment is disqualified from contesting an election even after his release from the prison. So these are the two statements, and you need to identify which one or either two of them are correct or not correct. And so just take a pause and think about it. Moving on to topic that why are we talking about this is because recently Election Commission of India saw some trend where the candidate were violating the model code of conduct. Even political party were engaging in unfair practices. And in the entire debate, it was being questioned whether Election Commission of India has lesser power or not. So while talking about this, first let's understand what is recognized party, what is registered party, and what is the difference in between the two. Now, beginning with registered parties, what are those? Now, under the Section 29 of the Representation of People Act 1951, it is mandatory for a political party who is contesting the election to be registered with the Election Commission of India. So, most of the party who are contesting the election have to be registered with the Election Commission of India. Okay, so under this, majority of the political party are registered. Now, why they are registered? Number one, it is mandatory. Number two, it come up with several benefit. The benefit includes like tax exemption, under which the donation they are getting is exempted from tax under the Section 13A of the Income Tax Act of the 1961. Second benefit is any political party can file 20-star campaigner while they are engaging in political campaigning. Now, why is this important? Because under the 7th Act of the RPA, there is a limit to which a candidate or a political party can engage in expenditure. They cannot have unlimited, they can spend money. Like for a political candidate, it's around 70 to 80 lakhs, something like that. Now, for a star campaigner, this limit is actually removed, or they can do more expenditure than that, but there are certain limitations on this. Now, as a result of this, political party like to file star campaigner because this limit they can easily breach with the help of a star campaigner. Okay. Third is they can have a common symbol for the general and state assembly election. If they are contesting in Lok Sabha as well as state assembly election, they can just simply say that we want the same symbol for the both election. And lastly, currently there are nearly 2,719 active registered political party in India. Any political party who is registered but not recognized is called as registered unrecognized political party. Majority of them falls into this category. Okay. Now, what are recognized party? A registered party, since most of them have to be registered if they are contesting election. A registered political party can convert into a recognized political party if they fulfill certain criteria by Election Commission of India under the provision of the Election Symbol Order 1968. Election Symbol Order 1968 is responsible for the recognized political party. So, there are two different acts for the registration and the recognition of political party. Now, what are those criteria? At national level and a state level, a political party has to fulfill certain criteria. And these are in terms of number of votes that they are getting. Like for a party to be national political party, they should have actually got a seat in the first assemblies or 2% of certain votes. There is criteria like that. Even for the state political party, there are certain criteria. 2% of certain number of votes they have to get at least in 3 states. Like for the national party, 2% of the legislative seats they have got in the T2 states, something like that. It keeps on varying. Okay, so that you need to read. I'm not going to cover it over here because there is a comprehensive list for that. Now, what is the current status? Currently, there are 6 national parties and 61 state parties that are recognized. Okay, so this is the list that you remember over here. Now, the benefit of a recognized political party, why are they converting? Because it's not mandatory, but a political party wants to be recognized. Reason being because it comes with its own additional advantage. Number one is that they can file 40-star campaigner. That means they have more capacity to breach the election expenditure limit that is given by the Election Commission of India. So they can file 40-star campaigner. Second is they have a reserve symbol during election. Like per se, BJP has lotus as a symbol that is reserved from them. Congress has hand as a symbol that is reserved for them. So the election symbol is reserved. Now you must know, besides these recognized political party, for other political party, the symbol is not reserved for them. So every time they're contesting an election, they have to go to the Election Commission of India, they have to register their symbol for themselves. If they don't do it on time, other political party can do so. And there has been example as well. In Tamil Nadu, some political party was contesting election with pressure cooker as an election symbol. Now, next time the election happened, they went to the Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India said, this symbol is already given to some other political party. They said, how did that happen? This was ours. They said, like, it's a first come, first basis. They came first, so they took it. that is the reason it is simple. Like generally, parties prefer to be as a recognized political party so that they can have a symbol with them for almost whenever till they are recognized. Okay. Overall, also when EVMs, they have an order of people, the recognized and registered political parties are given preference over the individual candidate. So most of the party prefer being in this category. So these are the difference. You can just pause for a moment and just have a difference over that. It's the same thing that I've discussed over the period of time. Now, what are the issues? Issue are at two levels. Number one, the misuse of this title of registered political party. It is being highlighted that 2/3 of the registered but unrecognized political party do not contest election. Then why are they existing? Now they're existing for the sake of, number one, to misuse the tax exemption to avoid paying taxes, and number two, they are potentially being used for the money laundering. Because since if an individual maybe say money 30 crore and he doesn't want to pay tax, maybe he recognized himself, he filed himself as a political party, showed his entire income as a donation, and then he doesn't have to pay the political party. So it's a mechanism to avoid paying tax. And second is, it's used for the potential money laundering as well, because they simply, a person who is doing some criminal activities will transfer the money to some B country, and then from a B country he will transfer the money to some account of some political party as a donation, and then money is white. So the money laundering, political parties are also established for the purpose of money laundering. And thus it has been highlighted the Election Commission of India should have a power to de-recognize this political party. But apparently ECI doesn't have this power fully, because it says that RPA does not give Election Commission of India explicit power to deregister a non-compliant parties. If a non-compliant party cannot be easily deregistered by Election Commission of India. In addition to that, there is a Supreme Court judgment which states that ECI can only deregister parties in case of fraud, disloyalty, or they are being unlawful by the government. If they're disloyal to the constitution, they're engaged in some unlawful then only they can be deregistered. The second matter. First is this matter. Second matter is there are frequent violation of model code of conduct by the various candidates. They engage in communal language. They engage in caste-based language, which is being prohibited in country, that you cannot divide people based on this matter. But they do so. And what Election Commission of India does in this matter is it only bars those candidates for only 2 to 3 days, which is not a very significant step. Thus, what can be done in such a case is there has been recommendation by the Election Commission of India itself and even by the Law Commission of India that we need to make certain legal amendment to give more power to the Election Commission of India to deregister such an active political party and give it power to implement even the model code of conduct. So here it is being said the Election Commission of India has the power to suspend or withdraw the recognition of political party failing to observe the model code of conduct under paragraph 16A of the symbol order, but this power is very limited and it is being very rarely used. Thus, amendment and a law that gives Election Commission of India more power will go a long way to increase the integrity of our democratic process in India. Let's move on to next article. Let's start with the third news, that is tariff war with US may trigger a dumping of Chinese product. So why are we talking about this? Because many a time the policies that are made by other developing and developed countries have a bearing on India's interest. And that's what's happening over here, as we will discuss in the news. And this is important from a prelims as well as mains perspective from GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3. Okay, the example over here is, in 2021, UPSC asked a question that USA is facing an existential threat in the form of China that is much more challenging than the erstwhile Soviet Union. Explain 2021. Okay, so like you might be thinking if anything that has impact on India, that is important to you. But here China is impacting US, but the question was asked in Indian examination. So be careful, especially regarding the policy that are undergoing change in our neighboring countries. Okay, let's start with that. Why are we talking about this? Because USA has recently introduced a tariff on the Chinese imported goods. So whatever US was importing, so many items that US was importing from China, it has increased tariff on that. And the items here include, items are those which are used in the manufacturing of electronic vehicle, that is EV. These include EV batteries, computer chips, and even medical export. So if this is US and this is China, now China, whenever will try to export the EV of vehicles or the items that are used in manufacturing in EV, it will have to pay now higher tariff over here. If it was earlier paying 10% tariff, now it will be paying 20% or more than that, whatever the US has decided. Now, as a result of this, Indian exporter are worried that this may lead to tariff war, and in such case of a tariff war, Indian exporter may be flooded with the Chinese goods which China will dump in India. A reason being, China has excess manufacturing capacity. So China will have goods in excess. And if it is not able to find the market in US, which is a very big market, where will it dump? The next biggest market, or a very big market right now, is India. And it is a very big market with a huge population, which will impact the interest of the Indian exporters. Okay. So first of all, let's understand what is tariff war, because if we introduce a term, that it will lead to the tariff war. Now, what is tariff war? Tariff war occurs when a country retaliates against each other by imposing or increasing tariff on the imported goods. So, whatever they're importing, if they, as a matter of retaliation, they increase tariff on that, that's basically tariff war. The example over here is, let's say here US as well as China. Okay, so the product China was maybe, like taking an example, China was exporting steel to US, and US has earlier imposed 10% tariff on this. But as a matter of policy change, or as a matter in order to retaliate from some political matter, US increased the tariff to 20%. Now China will retaliate. How? China will also do the same thing to the US. So whatever China was importing from US, be that steel, or it will identify some other industry, maybe medical product, China will increase the tariff on them. Maybe it was earlier US was paying 10%, China has also increased it to 25%. Okay, now you have imposed 20% tariff on us, we will impose 25% tariff on us. So such kind of retaliation on export-import of goods, especially the importing of items, is basically called as tariff war. Okay, generally why country do so? They have some political matter to settle. It's generally in order to settle some political matter, put a pressure on other countries. Example is China, not China, US and European Union put pressure on the Iran by imposing tariff on Iran in order to push Iran to actually bring down its nuclear architecture. So that was one example. Sometimes even some countries do so in order to protect their domestic country from unfair trade practices. Now we will discuss what are unfair trade practices as well. So move on. Moving on to tariff war. So what kind of tariff can be imposed by the countries? The tariff there here include is ad valorem tariff, means the tariff is in percentage of value of the imported goods. Example, if it is a 100 rupee article that you are buying, then on value you will impose tax, maybe 10%, that is 10 rupees tax you will be paying. Then there is a specific tariff, which means in physical unit terms you impose tariff, like fixed fee for physical unit of import goods. So if example over here is, if you are importing 1 ton of maybe coal from other country, then you may impose 300 rupees per ton. So per ton you're imposing, it doesn't matter whether coal is inferior quality or a poor quality, is expensive or cheaper. Per unit you are imposing tariff. That's a basically specific tariff. Then there is a mixed tariff, mix of values as well as physical unit. Then there are non-tariff barriers as well, because you can prevent other country, if this is country A and this is country B, and A doesn't want B to import their goods in their own country, they can impose 2 kinds of barrier. Number 1 was tariff barrier. That means increasing the duty on the imported goods. Other one is non-tariff barriers. That means they will not impose duty, but they will put some other obligation so that the B can't export their items to the A. So A will have put some restriction, and that include putting quotas or limit on the items. Like India says ki, okay, you cannot after through 250 tons of food grain, we will not import anything. There can be import license requirement as well. If you want to export the genetically modified goods to India, you'd have to take the license. or they can be voluntary export restraint as well, and that is by if a country A put a political pressure on B to not export those items to A, not import those items, like export those items to A. So then in such a case, voluntary export restraint will be exercised by the B. Okay, so these are some tariff and non-tariff barriers that can be imposed on exporting of items from a B country to E. Next is there are other unfair practices as well. Now here unfair practices, what do I mean by unfair practice over here is, here I'm talking about those practices by which if there are two country A as well as B, what B will do is, B will reduce the price of its good in order to dump its material in the country A. Reduce the price. So reducing price mechanism, that's what they use. So per se, here I'm talking about apples. It's a very different example. Let's take an apple. Maybe 10 rupees, 10 rupees, take an hypothetical example, 10 rupees per kg you're able to sell apple. Now you can reduce the price by, there will be like whenever trying to export, there will be some cost involved. Number one is the production cost. So if you're using fertilizer will cost alone 10 rupees. What if you make the fertilizer free? So you in the production process, you have given some input as a free material. So if you reduce the cost, earlier it would have costed around 30 rupees. But 10 rupees you saved by providing the free fertilizer. Second is 10 rupees you gave as a subsidy during export. If you're exporting it, we will give 10 rupees subsidy to you. So apple would have cost 30 rupees, but then you save 10 rupees at the fertilizer place and 10 rupees during exporting. So it now costs only 10 rupees in the foreign market. From 30, the price has come to the 10 rupees. And then you're exporting from B to A. So in A country, at 10 rupees, you can export apple from B country and their own producer are producing at 30 rupees. So what will happen? People in the country A will prefer the apple from the country B. Now, in such a case, this lead to what? Unfair trade mechanism. So, the example over here is export subsidy. I gave it the example. If you're exporting something, I'll give you financial assistance. Next is production subsidy. I'll reduce under production cost by giving you some kind of subsidy like per se fertilizer over here. And then there is a other mechanism, that is currency manipulation, where the countries deliberately devalue their currency in order to make their export cheaper and import more expensive. The example over here is, well, let's take a very hypothetical example and start with the apple only. Maybe apple costs 30 rupees per kg. Here the subsidy is not given, 30 rupees per kg. Okay, so you'd have to expend 30 rupees in order to get an apple. Now 30 rupees is equals to $1. Now what if the currency is devalued? In such a case, $1 is now equals to only 60 rupees. Earlier $1 was equals to 30 rupees. Now here $1 is equals to 60 rupees. And with 60 rupees, you can buy 2 kg of apple. Right now? So any importing country will be happy that with their $1, they're able to buy 2 kg of apple instead of 1. This time what will happen? They will import more and more. So this is a mechanism of any exporting country to dump their good in an importing nation. So which is an unfair practice. You're not giving a fair chance for a domestic producer to compete in such market. Now in such a case, how does a country defend itself? How does a country protect itself? The first mechanism is trade defense instrument like anti-dumping measure. Now in anti-dumping measure, a tariff is imposed on a foreign import that we believed are priced below their fair market value. If we believe a product should have been priced 50 rupees, but in India it is dumped at 30 rupees, then country can actually put an anti-dumping measure or import some tariff on this. Second is countervailing duties. This is the additional tariff imposed on import that are benefiting from the government subsidies, foreign government subsidies. So if we believe that agriculture subsidy is being given, some kind of production subsidy is given, in that case, we can impose countervailing duty on that. So both are duties, but the purpose is different. Here, if the subsidy is given by the foreign government, then countervailing duties are used. Another, if they are priced below their market level, then the anti-dumping measures are being used. Other mechanism is the retaliatory measure like India did. US a while ago imposed tariff on steel goods that was exported by India, that US was importing. Then India also retaliated. India also imposed the tariff on the steel that India was importing from the US. Okay. Or there are other political mechanism as well. Like we can take the matter to WTO, and WTO has a WTO dispute resolution mechanism which deals with such cases. Okay. Now overall, you can see at one end in the entire tariff war kind of scenario, India can be at losing end if China dump its own goods. But at same point of a time, this can be opportunity as well. Reason being, now China can't import to US. So US need new kind of exporters. US need new kinds of producers. So India can fill that gap. So what India has right now is Indian exporter can focus on emphasizing exporting goods to the US wherever China can't. And second is impose some retaliatory or like not retaliatory, impose some tariff protection measures against China if it indulge into dumping of goods in India, by which India will be able to benefit from the entire scenario. From this, let's move on to the next article. Moving on to next topic, that is Election Commission's vote from home facility finds new takers. So we will talk about vote from home, especially the role of Election Commission of India in this. This is important from a prelims perspective in GS paper 2, where the power and functions of the various constitutional body is part of the UPSC syllabus. Again, questions like that has been asked in UPSC previously, like this is a question that was asked in 2017. That is, to enhance the quality of democracy in India, the Election Commission of India has proposed electoral reform in 2016. What are the suggested reform and how far are they significant to make democracy successful? Similar article we have even discussed in derecognition of political party. So, of course, this is a very important matter. Now, let's move ahead. Why are we talking about this? Because recently, Election Commission of India has exercised a vote from home facility, and many voters are using vote from home facilities in the Delhi and Haryana election ahead of its time. So, the two questions that rise over here is, number one, what is vote from home? Because work from home and so many things I've heard, but do you have the option to vote from home as well? And the second question is, who can actually exercise it, what it is, and who has the power to exercise a vote from home? Now, moving on to about vote from home. Vote from home was in the recent changes was in 2014, Election Commission of India extended the vote from home power to person with disabilities and senior citizen whose age is above 85. So, senior citizen whose age is above 85 and above, and the person of disabilities can now also exercise vote from home. So, let's understand number one, what is vote from home? Now, in vote from home, certain sections of people that we will discuss right now are allowed to vote from home, and they have to follow certain procedure. Now, what is the procedure? If they're authorized by the Election Commission of India and if they fall into certain category, they vote from home by following this procedure. Number one, they download a Form 12D from the Election Commission of India's website, ECI's website, or they can get this from the District Election Commissioner's Office of Parliamentary Constituency. So, there are two sources from which they can get the form, that is Form 12D. Then they fill the form within 5 days of election at the District Election Commissioner's office. Now, the officer is aware that someone is trying to avail this office. Now, once the officer is aware, what they will do is two polling official, a videographer and a security person will visit the voter's home to enable the voting in a postal ballot. So, that person will actually vote in a postal ballot. The ballot will reach him at his home. Okay. Here, the most important thing is, it's not randomly the person will visit his home. The person will be informed. The voter will be informed about the date and the approximate time of the visit of the election official via SMS to a mobile number given in application through a postal ballot. So he will be informed at that time we will come, since you've already asked to exercise a vote from home. Also, you should remember that this polling team will attempt to visit. If with first visit they are not able to find the person, they will try the second visit. They will again intimate about the timing and on the day at which they will visit. And in 2 attempts, if they do not find the elector present at the given address, then the person will lose the opportunity to vote through the vote from home kind of a mechanism that is given to them, and even EVM. Okay, so this was understanding what was vote from home. Next question is, who can exercise vote from home? 2 categories are added recently. That is, the person who are aged 85 and above, And the second is the person with disabilities. These categories are added recently. Now, the third category that was existing even before, that is if a media person is going for the coverage of the election and is not able to, he or she knows that will not be able to do the voting on that day, even he can or she can also go for the vote from home, but then he has to get the authorization letter from the Election Commission of India. Third is worker that are providing essential services during the election process, like metros, railways, and healthcare. If they are not existing, nothing can be done. So they can also prior exercise during that time we are giving essential services. So we should also be given vote from home facility. Lastly, the service person, like the person armed forces who are taking care of the entire election matter. That includes the central police, armed police forces, the personnel deployed away from home, and those on poll duties. So maybe someone whose constituency is in UP but posted in Karnataka for the sake of election. Those people, they also ask for the vote from home. We will be voting from home since we will not be at our home at that time. Okay, so now you know two things: what is vote from home and who are the people who can exercise that. Let's move on to next article. Okay, let's start with next article, that is violent erupted in New Caledonia. So in this article, this is important because this covers in current events of national and international importance, especially from the mapping perspective. We will discuss this particular topic. Now you can see previous year questions like that. They consider the following statement: Barren Island volcano is an active volcano located in Indian territory. Barren Island lies 140 km east of Great Nicobar, and the last time Barren Island erupted was in 1991, and ever since it is inactive. So just read the three statements and identify which one of them is true. Take a pause and try to answer this. Moving on to the context and why are we talking about this news is because recently the fresh violence erupted in New Caledonia, and this is the third day over there, after France has actually imposed a state of emergency over there. Okay, now first let's understand what is New Caledonia, then we will go to the why the protest is going over there. What is the reason behind this violence? Number one, the New Caledonia is a French territory. Now, in fact, the French territory is enough. It's to say that it is France's overseas territory. Now, what are overseas territory? You know, few countries like France and Britain were early colonial country. That means they have colonized other countries. Like Britain has colonized India. Now, during 1940s, when the entire movement was going on, anti-colonial movement, these countries has to vacate their the countries that they have colonized. But even in that case, the few countries they did not decolonize, and those are generally caused as their overseas territory. Now, these countries, because like the international uproar is not against them because their presentation in international organization, also the fact that there is an economic freedom to these countries, that they can utilize the resource for themselves, but the entire political freedom is not given because now they are being made the part of these developed nations like Britain and France. They are just called as overseas country. Similarly, Caledonia is France's overseas territory. That means France is located in Europe and it has certain overseas territory. This particular one is located in Southwest Pacific Ocean, east of Australia and northwest of New Zealand. Okay. You can see it over there that here it is east of Australia and northwest of New Zealand in the South Pacific region. The New Caledonia is located. You should know because the question can be asked like this. Okay. Now, its capital is Nomia, which is located in the island of Grand Terre. It is the largest island in the New Caledonia. Now, why Caledonia? Why France did not vacate New Caledonia and made it its territory? Because it's not easy to regulate or have a political control over territory which is millions of miles away from your original territory. But still France did that because it is a strategic point in the Pacific Ocean. If you have a military presence in this particular region, if you have a military presence, you can keep an eye on the other country like Japan, South Korea and China per se. Most of the European countries are trying to keep an eye on these countries. And that is the reason they're not vacating such territory. This is basically a gateway to both Asia and America. So the trade is also easy. Military presence is also there. And that's why France has enough substantial military presence in New Caledonia. It is basically a strategic base for the French interest. Also, there is economic interest too because New Caledonia possesses around 25% of the world's known nickel reserve, making it an important player in the nickel trade. And this is important because nickel is a main a raw material in the stainless steel and batteries, and that's the reason French doesn't want to vacate it. Now, this is actually crux of the entire issue as well. When we talk about why the entire protest is erupting, because as a result of colonization, the French colonized New Caledonia in 1853, which resulted in significant cultural and political division. So, if this is Caledonia, now the population is divided into the Europeans who had settled and now called as European settlers, and the indigenous Kanak people. And they have a political and cultural differences. Kanak people don't culturally identify with the Europeans, and Europeans don't identify with Kanak peoples. At same point of a time, Kanak people want independence. They consider they are not part of the French territory. European settlers, they consider themselves French and they want to stay as a French territory. Now, this resulted in referendum in 3 times in 2018, 2022 and 2021, and surprisingly, in all 3 times, the voting remained in favor of Caledonia being a part of France. So, referendum since did not favor the separation of Caledonia from the France. The Caledonia is still part of the France, but the tension is still over there. Now, this tension is further fueled by strong independence movement of the Kanak people, along with the recent activity by the French Prime Minister, that is this is Emmanuel Macron government, which has actually used very strong hand against the protests that were going on, and also they have imposed certain political restrictions in by which the people, the indigenous Kanak people, consider that they are restricting their political freedom. So, freedom too. So they believe they are restricting their political freedom. They don't respect our culture. We were their colonies, and they should give the independence to the Kanak people. Now, this resentment is further fueled by economic inequalities between the indigenous Kanak people and the European settlers. European settlers are rich than the Kanak people, and Kanak believe that it's not just political colonization. We are suffering from new colonization as well, because the benefit of the nickel export is going only to the European settlers. They're actually extracting resources from our country. They use us as a strategic base in order to suffer their own and fulfill their own interests. They don't think about the benefit of the Kanak people, and thus they're asking for the independence. Lastly, the imposition of state of emergency by the French authority further fuels this sort of this kind of resentment that is going on over there, which they believe is a suppression of the legitimate dissent and is thus aggravating the entire scenario. So I hope you got the entire issue, that why the protests are going on, because of it has roots in previous colonization, economic deprivation and political deprivation, and also you should know in map where do they lie. With this topic, let's move on to answering the prelims and mains question. Now let's discuss the prelims and mains question based on the article that we have discussed. The first question that says, which of the following statement correctly describe the geographical location of the New Caledonia? Now, the statement 1 says the New Caledonia is located in Southwest Pacific Ocean. If you remember, that's what I thought. Second, it lies in the east of Australia and northwest of New Zealand. That's what we discussed. The capital of New Caledonia is Nome, located in the island of Tahiti. That's not we discussed, right? It lies in French Polynesia, and there's a different term that we used. And New Caledonia is an overseas collectivity of the US. I said it is an overseas territory of the France. Like overseas territory, I discussed what this term mean, and then it belongs to the France, not to the US. So, of course, this statement is wrong, and this statement is wrong. So, we are left with 1 and 2. So, the answer is going to be the A. Now, let's move on to next question. That is, consider the following statement about Numa, New Caledonia. So, the same question we are discussing now from this different perspective, so that you can memorize another detailed information. Now, first statement says that Numa is the capital of New Caledonia. We discussed that. That is true. Second, Numa is located on the island of Green Tare. Now, that's what you are supposed to remember. This was not actually like I discussed in the previous question, but remember, it was not island of Tahiti. It's actually located in the island of Green Tare. So, remember this. Now, New Caledonia is overseas territory or the collectivity of France. This time it is correct. So, you know, statement 1, 2 and 3 are correct. And New Caledonia is situated in Northwest Pacific Ocean. Now, recall this. It was not Northwest. It was Southwest Pacific Ocean. That's the statement 4 is incorrect. So, the answer over here is 1, 2 and 3. So, the answer is A. Now, let's move on to next question. That is, which of the following tool can be used in a tariff war? We discussed a tariff war today, and then we talked about the various tools of the tariff war. Number 1 is anti-dumping measure. Number 2 is export subsidy. Anti-dumping measure can be manipulated in order to impose tariff on the other country. Export subsidy can also become the reason. Countervailing duties, the tariff is imposed over there, and voluntary export restraint. So these are some example, and then we knew that all of them comes in the category of the tariff war. Next, consider the following group: people aged 85 and above, all person with disability, healthcare worker, individual detained under preventive custody order. How many of the people are eligible to avail the Election Commission of India's vote from home facilities? Okay, so number 1 is, if there is a correction over there, this one is 1, this one is 2, and then is 3, 4, 5 something. Okay, so person above 85 and above do fall into the category I discussed. Number 2, not all person with disability, person with 44% of disability, and then certified by Election Commission of India. So this statement is incorrect. Third is healthcare worker, and that is true. Individual detained under the preventive custody orders. So preventive custody order generally doesn't ask them to fall into such category, and this category we did not discuss. The next category was the media person, again certified by the Election Commission of India. Then there was a service personnel, then those who are providing essential services, the healthcare worker are over there. So of course, this category does not fall into that particular criteria that is given by the Election Commission of India. So only 2 categories are right over there. So answer is going to be B. Okay, next. With reference to registration and recognition of political parties in India, consider the following statement. Number 1, political parties are registered by Election Commission of India under the Election Symbol Order 1968 by Election Commission of India. And second statement, the political parties recognized under Section 29 of the RPA, Representation of People Act 1951. Now here, you should know the recognition is done under the Symbols Order Act 1968. So it is like reverse. So both the statements are incorrect. So the answer is going to be D. So you should remember under which article a party is registered and under which particular act the party is recognized. Okay. Now let's discuss lastly the mains question based on the topic we have discussed. So it says that it has been said that artificial intelligence or AI hold the potential to revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. And then if so, then what is stopping the Indian market to utilize its potential as a large scale? Now, when you are answering this question, I've already discussed that. So you already know what is the content that is to be fed. Now let's structure the answer. If the question is on artificial intelligence, then first of all, define what is artificial intelligence. So in introduction, you will mention what is artificial intelligence. So introduction will be about defining AI, and then subset of AI like ML and DL, and how they are actually increasing the capacity of the artificial intelligence. Now, then you will move on to how it can revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. Then you will talk about how protein is a very, protein activation is a very specific process. It requires very specific substrate that can actually activate it. And thus, this is a very cost-effective, very cost utilizing and time utilizing mechanism. But AI with the computational model can actually reduce the time that is required in finding a particular drug that can set the structure, that can actually fit into the structure of existing protein, that can activate and give a solution to a human being. Now, once you've done that, you know AI, then you will mention it reduced the cost, it reduced the time, and then it overall gives so much of accuracy as well. So after adding that, you will move on to that despite its potential, India is facing challenges. So this was introduction. In body, you talked about the how AI can help in pharma industry, revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry. And then in a body B2 part, you will talk about the challenges that are faced by India. Now, what are the challenges? You can talk about like how we don't have enough skilled capital. We don't have skilled person over there. The technology is very expensive. The budget is less. And we don't have the computational model, the kind of capacity that is needed. And then you will conclude. You will not stop over there just because the question is asked this. You will give a very positive outlook and suggestion as well. You will talk about it despite the setbacks that we have, Indian pharmaceutical industry has a some advantage where our pharmaceutical industry is already developed. We have greater advantage in terms of technology as well. Other technologies are available. We can come up with cost-effective medicine as well, and when that is clubbed, we can easily utilize the benefit. At same point of time, to integrate AI into the existing pharmaceutical industry, government can provide subsidy, initial hand holding, and even skilled capital is like skilled people as well. So it can make sure that it is subsidizing the PhD of those people who are engaged in such kind of work. So by this way, Indian artificial intelligence can even revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry in India, and India can become a global leader. That is our dream. With this, we are done with today's article and news. If you have any doubt, please leave a comment in the comment section, and thank you for watching this video.